Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And in true esports fashion, what I'll do is, while people keep on streaming in, I'll go ahead and call up our panelists. And what we'll do is we'll do it differently because esports ends up doing things differently all the time. First up, I'd love to go ahead and call over Michael. Michael is the come, Michael. Small round of applause. Hey, Michael. How are you doing? Come.
Hi, everyone.
So, quick one. You're doing something cool with something called ESPL, right?
Yes.
Yes. What's ESPL?
ESPL is our new project. ESPL stands for Esports Pro League, right? And we saw that esports is surprisingly very much offline, many offline tournaments and all of that, and that it needs to shape it a little bit for the grassroots, to solve it technically, to make it very easy to come into a kind of a national league, all that kind of stuff. So we developed the tech for it, and now we are launching, hopefully soon also in India, a new national league system, which leads to a global brand called ESPL.
Nice. And you're based out of Singapore.
Yes, we are based out of Singapore. I myself coming from Cologne, so the ESL city itself.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
maybe where the good stuff starts.
And that's a great segue to go ahead and say, that, well, we're talking about esports going mainstream, right? Here you have someone who's from Cologne, who's set up in Singapore, building out a technology to go ahead and get grassroots people coming into esports so that it's easy technology platform and that allows it to go global. And in that context, I'd love to go ahead and call over Nimish Raut. Small round of applause for Nimish, please. Yeah. A big round. He's a big man with great looking hair. How are you doing? If you can just hand that over to him. So Nimish, you've had a very interesting past. Nimish was the national head of events and sports for Red Bull, which is one of the most iconic companies in terms of marketing. And then from there, he was head of new sports for Star Sports, and then went and joined one of the most iconic companies in the world, which is Riot Games. They make League of Legends out of Singapore. So Singapore to Singapore connection. And now you're moving back here and tell us how your journey has been.
Oh, I think the experience in Riot kind of opened my eyes a little bit. The difference between esports globally and to what esports is in India. Obviously, I know from Red Bull days, how different esports was back in 2012. But I think that gap is becoming a lot narrower right now. And I think the ecosystem needs to be looked after in India. I thought it's a great opportunity for me to come back and do something for a sport that is very close to my heart as well. So I'm hoping that I can contribute to the ecosystem, and in the next 2-3 years, we are a powerhouse in esports as well.
So another part of that mainstream, right? Great multiple brands, great experience going and looking at India and how it's going mainstream. And someone who's been here and been doing this mainstream, I'd love to go ahead and call Vishal Parekh. Vishal is the head of marketing for South Asia, the entire Indian subcontinent, and also now for the Philippines. Yeah, welcome. Very good. Let's you hope that works.
Hello?
Yep. And you've been, HyperX is one of these huge brands across the world, based out of the US, and extremely passionate about gaming and does some of the most coolest gaming things across the world. They do peripherals, headsets. You had this really young 4-year-old kid who's sitting at one of your desks, going and playing right now. And you're now taking this methodology and pedagogy, and you've gone to Philippines. But how does the rest of the world look at?
I think we've seen this transition from gaming to esports, and I think I've seen this while being a gamer when I was younger. But I would still say India, everybody calls it esports booming, revolution and all, but I think we are still doing that baby steps. So it wouldn't be fair to compare right now what we are and probably 2 quarters down is probably the right time when we can say that yes, this is where we are talking about India and rest of the world, and probably the way it's going to change the entire landscape of esports in India.
And the future is bright.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brighter than the lights here.
And talking about that bright future, one of my very close friends for a very long time, I'd love to call over Ankit Pant. Ankit is one of India's star gamers. We can't have a panel where no one's in esports except the person coming down here. You can see he's also part of that old Red Bull ecosystem. Ankit, you've been this kick-ass gamer forever, Counter-Strike 1.6 to now. How has the journey been for you in terms of more mainstreaming? It's like, are there more brands that are talking to you? Are there more people talking to you? You did something cool with BBC. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so now thanks to events like these, thanks to Nodwin Gaming, because I come from a time where we used to play in cyber cafes. We used to get uh, mouse pads as gifts, and that black tinted glass where my mom thought that something bad was happening. She stopped me. My dad went to the cafe guy and told him, if my son goes there, I will break your legs and his legs too. So coming from there to playing events like ESL India, it feels good. Now talking about brands, I never thought. I used to think when I saw Sachin Tendulkar having that MRF sticker on his bat, or a Shah Rukh Khan promoting some brand and becoming a brand ambassador of that brand. And today I am the brand ambassador of Alienware. I'm the brand ambassador of Intel. I'm a Red Bull athlete. So this is what I always wanted. This is what shows my parents that I'm not doing something wrong. Because earlier when I was going on that stage and playing tournaments, they never understood what I was doing. But after doing all these brand endorsements, and after coming on BBC, which I recently got covered by the BBC World guys, now my mamas and all my relatives, they used to watch these news channels, and when they saw me over there, it was an eye opener for them. And they never expected that a kid who they thought won't do anything in his life because he was not studious, he was getting 50-60% in his school and colleges, we would suddenly become the face of gaming in India, and being covered by so many news channels. So that's the journey.
Yeah. And finally, go ahead and love to call Ravi. Ravi is the guy who kind of brings all of this together. He's the organizer of India Joy. Um, and Ravi, uh, tell us how you brought all of us together, right? So you're kind of that fulcrum that tries to bring all of these people sitting on this table together.
Perfect. I think in India, what's been missing till the last few years is the ecosystem, the positive attitude towards gaming, right? I think at one time, I remember my parents comparing esports to drugs, and that I'm spoiling kids. Wahan se, I think it's a very nice step up. It's a great place to be in. And when we look at government, when we look at all the publishers, I mean, publishers have played a big role in mobile esports, if nothing, right? So there's a huge shift, and if we want to create a platform that everyone will follow, I think it has to be big. In India, only volumes work. So I think that's where people like me come in. We have to bring all of you together at a stage which is big enough that everyone will stand up and watch and clap, right? So that's we're taking the first steps now.
Thank you, and that's our panel today. We'll keep it fun as I promised. So, quick history lesson. Fun history. Uh, the this is the third coming of esports. All of you guys who are out there who think esports is this really cool thing that is happening right now, it is not. Esports started. Quick prize. I will go ahead and give a personal prize from one of my good stashes. Anyone can tell me when the first esports event happened in the world and what was it? Okay, I'll just go ahead and give it to you if you just tell me the year, or when, or what. Yeah, there's someone at the back. I can just shout. Don't worry. Don't need a mic. Very close. Very close. It was 1972, actually. No, it was the University of Stanford that played a game of Space Wars against another university, and the prize was 1 year subscription to Rolling Stone magazine. 1972. That's where we have come from. It's a good 30, 40, 50 years that we've been building this. Even in India, the first esports coming was people like Yogesh Nagdev and people like Vishal Gondal, who got behind going and doing things like WCG. Vishal, you were actually part of that journey, right? You were at that time with Zapak.
Yes, and I think I would go with what Ankit was saying. We had those cyber cafes, and they were called as gaming cafes, and suddenly that disappeared because for whatever reason. And during those WCG games, you know how things were like. You need to we were talking about, like, you have an entrance fee to pay for, and then the price pools were like very very nominal. But then I think what defeated the purpose over there, which was probably I think the multinationals were waiting to see that how big India is as a gamer, because we always had this population thing which we used to show as, that, oh, India is so many people, and therefore there will be so many gamers, and therefore there will be a huge esports thing that could happen. But it never happened. I mean, I think this we are talking about some 2000 something, early 2000s. But then those WCG days were, if you were a gamer at that time, was as glamorous as it is right now. And you would love watching Ankit use those, so-called intense graphics at that time. We are talking about CS 1.6. What you see right now is like a probably a few generations that's moved from 1.6 to CS:GO. I would say, right? CS:GO maps were like not very intense graphic. There were not so many arms ammunition you could use at. I mean, very limited, guns and all. We've come a long way, but then that probably would have really given India a good gear shift, which never happened.
And that's part of the generational conversation which we want to go ahead and say. Uh, when is the last time you heard something go mainstream in India right now? I think last year or this year, this was where we said hip hop has just come out, right? Gully Boy came out and whatever, and and that was a big revolution, and everyone started talking about it. Nimish, you've had some history with that part, right? You've seen mainstreaming of hip hop come from Divine's time. How long did that take?
Well, I think it's probably started way back in 2005, 2004. I think beatboxing was the new thing that kids were learning. Again, there was no real YouTube to learn from. People just kind of traveled around the world and they said, "Oh, I found this new form of rapping, which is beatboxing." It kind of started from beatboxing. We did our first BC1 project in 2011. It was called the Dharavi project, where we basically got the BC1 uh, all stars to come to Dharavi and did a project in Sion. And we were surprised to see that there were at least 25 or 30 of these young kids who would rap in Hindi. And that's when we actually got introduced to the idea that, oh, is there something known as rapping in Hindi? You know, and we said, okay, let's kind of continue to support them. And all we had is a can of Red Bull. Now, a can of Red Bull might not seem a lot to the audience here, but a can of Red Bull gives you wings. So, so that was a philosophy. Like, we would just give these kids chilled can of Red Bulls, and they would turn up at all our events, and they would be rapping and they would be beatboxing. And one such guy was a guy called Divine, who basically was an MC and had a great personality. He used to be with a group called Bombay Basement back in the day. And yeah, and then the culture program was in place, and then 3 years down the line, the likes of OML basically were looking for talent, kind of took Divine to the next step, and then now now there's a mainstream movie on him today. Divine charges maybe like 5-6 lakhs a gig, maybe if not more. He's got a fashion line with Puma. Today every other kid in college wants to talk like Divine, saying "Kya bantai." Like bantai wasn't like a great thing to say, but now with Divine, it's like bantai is like the cool thing now. Yeah.
And that leads to the fact that it takes time to go build mainstreaming for anything. It doesn't matter whether it's esports or not. We are mainstreaming it right now because we've got other people like that. Ankit, uh, I remember this great story that once you had told me, uh, how you got to a tournament in a train. Tell us that train tournament story. No, it's important, and I'll tell you why, guys. This is context. All these cases that I'm trying to tell you is the road and the pave, and it is paved with hard work. It is not something you don't go mainstream things like this. It doesn't happen, and it takes time, especially in the space that we are coming off, to go ahead and bring legitimacy. So tell us that story.
This was a tournament, I think, in Jalandhar. Zapak only was doing it. So the first prize was 1 lakh cash at that time, and the second prize was 50,000 cash. So I went to my teammates and told them, no, let's go for this tournament. We weren't the number one team at that point of time, so we were second, third, fighting for that spot. So I kind of did the maths. I told them, see, the investment is for 9,000 rupees. How I will tell you. 1500 Rajdhani fare, that comes to 3,000. 2,000 rupees would be your stay, 5,000. 2,000 would be your traveling, and 2,000 would be food. So 9,000 rupees costing is there, and 1,000 rupees you will get. So we were so passionate, we didn't really care about the money, but coming to me, I kind of wanted that because I was taking loans from my friends, from my family, because my parents were not ready to, give me 10,000 rupees to just go and play a national tournament. So I took 500,000 rupees from someone, 2,000 from someone. Then I had my piggy bank. Usme se I took some money, which was not much. So all coins only came out. But somehow I managed. My teammates also, funded me some money, and we went there. After we went there, we started playing, and the team which we were playing was India's number one team. So we reached the finals. Sorry, in the quarterfinals, we defeated Delhi's team, and they thought we were match fixing because we didn't want it to play Mumbai versus Mumbai, and we were we fixed the match in a way that both teams were first second from Mumbai only, and those people, they actually came to me and told me that see that truck over there. Yeah, those are my people, and if you have fixed this game and if you don't win the finals, then I will definitely know that you have fixed this game, and then you see what happens. And they also told me that you are a Punjabi, so we'll spare you, but not your teammates. I was like, bro, we have not fixed this match. We'll play to our full potential. Don't worry. That happened, and in the semi-finals we had an easy draw, so we had an easy team, and I told my teammates, bro, finals is what we have to win. Let me sleep in the semi-finals because I'm very tired. This team is not that no, not that great, so let's finish them off. So I was sleeping with my heads down on the table, and they were playing. So whenever the C4 used to come, they used to press 5 on my keyboard and drop the C4. We managed to reach the finals, and first match we kind of got we thrashed them 16-3, the number one team at that point, and we were very happy. And I was like, don't celebrate. See that truck behind, don't celebrate. We still have one more map to go. Second map, we got thrashed. Same score line 16-3. Everyone was nervous, but luckily we managed to win. And I got that. I was expecting 20,000, but I got one. Sorry, I was expecting 50,000, which was 10,000 each, but I got 1 lakh 20,000 each. And I told my mom that I have won this tournament, and don't worry, I'll the money that I took from you, I'll give it back to you. And she was like, पहले मुझे ये बता, ऑर्गेनाइजर कौन है, उससे मुझे बात करवा, 20,000 rupees इतने छोटे बच्चे को दिया कैसे है? She was telling me this on phone, and I was like, I have not stolen this money. Let me talk to the organizer. So this was it. What happened?
And now you have the story of how means like effort, small little efforts that have got and caught us here have started bringing relevance. It has taken a huge amount of time and effort for this industry to come together to do this. And that's why someone like you is coming down, and you've noticed this from afar. Like, why India? Why suddenly India is interesting?
I think we see many changes, not only going this to mainstream by what you have described happens in Europe and US, pretty much the same thing, right? Many pro gamers I know, they were telling me, like you said, 10, 15 years ago, the parents didn't know what they are doing. I was speaking to many investors like 5 years ago, and they were telling me, oh, esports, this will disappear, doesn't really exist, right? And then these people started to see that their sons or grandsons started to play, right? That they were 8 years old and spending hours on it, and they didn't want to go to the football game with them and all of that kind of stuff. So what we learned and understood also, that it's not about if you want to play or not, it's all about you need to have access, right? And this is what's happening. I saw in the movie League of Legends Origins, what I didn't know, that the main success main success of Korea being so good at it, the internet connection was, right? Right. So they had the equipment, and suddenly when you look globally, suddenly you have 4G, 5G all over the place, accessible everywhere. Everyone starts to have a smartphone device, and this is a big game changer for the industry, because before 15 years ago, if you wanted to play Counter-Strike, for example, you needed to have a well-equipped PC. You needed to have the connection, and suddenly, and I think this is why I value esports so much. It is for everyone, right? Like football was a sport which was for everyone. It was not easy, not difficult to play. But if you want to be a tennis superstar today, or like golf or Formula One, you need so much money in the age of when you're 8 already. But this is not about esports, and I think this is the beauty of it. This is what many people start to realize, and I think why we are here in India, why we look so much in at Southeast Asia, for example, is that this technological change makes it accessible, and suddenly everyone can start to play, and this will create the next generation, and then it's going really, really mainstream because it's not an elite sport, it's for everyone.
And there you have two of those levers, which I like to call, which are mainstreaming this: internet connectivity. Second, the cost of being a gamer. The cost of being a gamer was $1,000 or $1,500, about 1 lakh rupees, because you needed a computer connection, whatever. Now it's 10,000 rupees. You have a really nice phone that you can go in and play PUBG Mobile in, and that's what you've seen as the big explosion. Um, However, while we are building all of this, one of the big ways we monetize esports remains brands and sponsorships, right? Esports just makes money from three things: it makes money from sponsorships, it makes money from media rights, and it makes money from gates and merchandise, B2C revenues, whether there's ticketing revenues that is coming in, t shirt revenues that is coming in. But all of that is predicated currently mostly on a brand being the sponsor. And then, Vishal, you as you know, um, HyperX was part of a company called Kingston, which is one of the largest memory devices
Okay,
companies.
is part of Kingston.
It still is part of Kingston. It's a separate brand that they've actually made. But when global looks at this and you go ahead and allocate budgets to this, there's always an ROI that you need to go ahead. What's the ROI of esports?
Okay, you getting me into a situation which will create controversy. So probably I need to make it much a little bit. Um, Let me see how do I word this. Okay, um,
I will ask this question a little nicer, which is there. What does esports bring to a brand like HyperX?
Um, I think it's about when you say getting to masses, right? And as I said, it's not gaming anymore, which is becoming serious. It's esports that becoming much more serious. And going with whatever Nimish mentioned or Ankit was saying, or even Ravi was saying, this what happened is I used to play games, and same situation where my parents would say, "You're wasting your time. Do something creative. Do something constructive." You know, I don't know what you're doing inside that dark dingy place. I mean, what are you doing? How do I know? There was no way to monitor what a kid is doing. Getting to esports now becoming a mass, whatever the second cycle, third cycle of the esports we are seeing in India. uh, for brand like us, we want people to there are two ways. I mean, one, obviously the base thing is we need to make sure that our product sell, but then selling a product versus creating an experience, that's where the difference come in. If I tell you my headset is a dual chamber, what does it mean? I mean, why would I need a dual chamber? Probably music makes much more sense when it's a dual chamber thing. But in gaming, if I tell you that, oh, use dual chambers and it will help you to win the match, it doesn't make any sense till the time we come on that platform where gamers are. We help them make sure, I mean, understand that this is a technological advancement which is happening and you should know about this. uh, this will help you to listen to footsteps which are coming in from left, right, or behind, of something in a distance where there's an explosion. Your competitor would not hear that because he's not using that technology. You can. That gives you an edge. And I'm talking about the difference where when we used to play games, we never had headsets. I mean, how many people, even if you talk about mobile gaming when it started, how many people used to play games with their earphones? I didn't see that happening in 2015, 2016 when I used to play Asphalt whatever version, and it was just I need to mute it because people around me will say, you're disturbing me. Now look at it. People have started wearing earphones. They understand the importance of sound, the immersiveness, chatting with the team members. So these are things which brand looks at. I mean, can I be part of this whole experience thing?
And you've also gone and used mainstream, not just gaming. Like everyone here is gaming, but you've used
Yeah.
mainstream Bollywood, Hollywood. Like, tell us experiences of that and how that translates to
You know
gaming.
what we I mean, I think it goes back to our generation where we were scared of saying that I'm a gamer. to a generation now who proudly says, I'm a gamer. And probably in another 2-3 quarters, like he mentioned, he's a Red Bull athlete. He did not say, I'm a gamer. That is what is happening now. Gamers are looking at gaming as a sport, and they want to become an athlete and not just any gamer, which is the difference. And then we realize that people like us in our generation who could not say I'm a gamer now are opening up saying, oh, I also game. We did those cover shoots with people like Farhan Akhtar and Neil Nitin Mukesh or Yami Gautam, Sunny Leone. They are all gamers, and that is where we realize that why do you hide being a gamer? I mean, we feel proud about it. And now when there is a platform which helps you create a career out of it. Look at Ankit, how many years you've been in this industry, and he's still there. He's still a gamer and he's still a professional now. I mean, it does not end being a gamer. There is so much more beyond that. And that's where I would say I would look at as a brand owner saying I need to be with this gamer, which we saw like a 4-year-old kid playing CS:GO, which even I cannot imagine playing in that sharpness. When he grows, he knows that, oh, I was at HyperX booth playing this game with a headset, with a keyboard, which helped me to take this headshot at a certain millisecond time, and that's where the experience comes in.
And Ravi, for you, this drumbeat of this noise that we are generating, has this started translating into mainstreaming it to bigger publishers and more publishers coming to India from other countries? We see so many people you've got from so many countries here at India Joy, and congratulations for that. Has that helped?
Yes. In fact, I would like to hear your cricket analogy because I want to build on top of that. That is something the audience would also love.
So I'm going to trademark this one day. But the uh, when I've been asked about mainstreaming of gaming, roads, I often go ahead and say first we had test match cricket. And everyone used to play test match cricket. It was the right way to play. It used to be over 5 days. It has to be prim and proper. It has to be done in English because that's the Lord's language. And you have to play it with a specific dedicated equipment. It can't be done with all this wishy-washy equipment. And I call that PC gaming. Yeah, PC gaming has to be done with a computer. It has to be on a connection. It has to have mouse and a keyboard that has to have a lagless monitor because frame rates are very important, and it has to be done all in English, and all the commentary has to be in English, and we will compete with the world across this concept. Um, did we do well in it? No, and we kind of didn't do well in test match cricket either. That's why PC gaming never took off in India. It's still there. I'm not saying it's not there. It brings legitimacy, right? This is it's the best way you can play esports. Below that sits what is called one-day cricket. It's kind of lost in its own thing, like it is right now. But it is big on certain formats. So FIFA, if you have to play FIFA in the country of India, it's one of the biggest games we play. You only play it on the PlayStation, right? That's where one-day cricket is sitting. It's happens once in a while. We all feel good about it. We are good in it once in a while. India's FIFA players have done top 10, 12 in the world multiple number of times, but that's it. There's also Tekken, Street Fighter. Uh, he's a Street Fighter fan. So Tekken, Street Fighter, and a couple of other games like sometimes Call of Duty or maybe racing games that will be there. Then came this thing that everyone like shriveled up their nose on. They were like mobile gaming. Who plays mobile gaming? Are you nuts? It's so wishy-washy. It's so not proper. On that little thing, you'll play a game. You can't even see. It has no resolution. It has no skill. It's just you just have to tap a button. It's like Candy Crush. Why will you have this? So everyone in the test match cricket and one-day cricket basically poo-pooed about it, which created space. Which created this space that there were no content creators, there was no ecosystem, there was nothing except a lot of people who were willing to go ahead and play it. New players, PUBG Mobile, for example, 85% Hindi. They don't speak in English, and that's T20, right? It's the mass game of cricket, which is there. Everyone plays it, men, women, everyone likes it. Is it as legitimate as Test match cricket? Probably not. Is it entertaining? Is it massified? Absolutely, and that's where it kind of translates
So
to.
I'll just build on that, right? Because I think the reason why things are mainstream are like it's a brick by brick process. The first thing is the geo effect, right? I mean, it made data cheap. what happened because of that? Someone was playing a 10 MB low quality game, now is playing a 500 MB high quality game, which is a proper mid core game. Again, it's zero cost, so it's a freemium game. But what happens when you start playing higher quality games is you don't go back to playing those casual games anymore. You're now a gamer. You want to boast of it, you want to talk to everyone else. The second big thing is, once people started playing better games, which were mostly multiplayer in nature, parents were not bothered about it. A kid playing in a corner of his house in a shady place was always worrying to the parents. But a kid shouting in the hall, playing on his mobile, talking on with his friends, which parents probably also know the names of, suddenly made it a social activity, not something which was hidden. So parents started saying, wow, मेरा बेटा टाइम वेस्ट नहीं कर रहा है इलीगल या कुछ ऐसे शेडी काम नहीं कर रहा है, ठीक है खेल रहा है, उसमें क्या है, क्रिकेट भी क्या है, बाहर जाएगा खेलेगा, यहाँ तो दोस्तों के साथ ही खेल रहा है, I mean it's still fine, right? That's the second step. The third step is, when people start playing mid-core games, in 3 to 6 months they start spending a little money because the experience is really good. It's not like India doesn't have money. Everyone goes for a movie, so they are spending $2-3 per ticket almost on a weekly or a monthly basis. So take care, instead of $2 on a movie, I'll put $2 in a game. Now what this changed is the publisher's perspective. Publishers started seeing money in mobile gaming industry in India. When publishers see money, they will back that particular game and its growth. How does a publisher do that? By having regular engagement with the gamers. There's no better way than esports. So publishers like Tencent, Garena have started doing a lot of esports activity. So it's like the whole process, right, has come to a stage where now there are 575,000 registrations for a PUBG tourney. It's kind of a record. And suddenly the whole world standing up and like, okay, what's happening in India? They miss the whole PC boom, they miss the whole console and all of that. But when it comes to mobile esports, are they the big giants, hidden giants, right? And I think that is the mainstream. And just another example, right? If a Bollywood movie crosses 100 crore collection, people consider it a success in some form. That's what, less than 2 crore people buying a ticket. All the top games like PUBG, Free Fire have 2 crore people playing it every day. What does it make it? I mean, they're watching one movie once a month and we're calling it mainstream. If they're playing every day, that's like 30x mainstream, man. I mean, that's where we are sitting right now.
Yeah, just perspective, right? And these are different perspectives. And often Hollywood has also been like, which is the biggest entertainment property in the world? It's Call of Duty. It's not, what's the largest movie right now? It's not Avengers, right? It's Call of Duty. Yeah. Nimish, you've looked at this from a sports angle, and then you built this with Red Bull, then you've joined esports. You're one of those big examples of, we've converted you to being a gamer and an esports person. Your view on how influencers are taking this mainstream, is influencers a big thing for this?
Well, I think influencers is an outcome of what's happened. I think it kind of started with the idea of, when I see a double lift, when I see a reckless play League of Legends, I want to play like him. So it's like any other sport where you saw Sachin Tendulkar or you saw Virat Kohli, you wanted to play like him, or you wanted to bat like him or bowl like him. So it kind of started exactly like that. But what the difference came in when it started becoming entertaining as well. So there were guys who were not as good as a reckless or a double lift, but would have a different style of playing a particular game, and they would be entertaining. So whether it's somebody being rude, whether it's somebody being funny, whether it's somebody doing cosplay and doing streaming, what that opened up is, and I always say this to everyone, it kind of opened up the inner avatar in you. You know, what gaming or what esports has to offer you is, you can be anything else at a 9 to 5 job, and you can be somebody completely different when you're streaming. And now that really took off, because people now started relating with these characters or with these individuals at a personal level, which a lot of other mainstream sport, and because I've been in mainstream sport, the reality today is we are a cricket country, but one of the biggest struggles that we had, even when I was a star, is that the viewership is falling. And the earlier we recognize that, the better for us. Everyone in this room, whoever works in mainstream sport, ask a football club, ask the viewership numbers, these are all inflated numbers. The reality is that the kids are not watching sport. They are playing sport, which is esport. And yeah, I would say for me, influencers, they do matter, but as I said, it is an outcome of what has happened rather than the other way around.
So I'll just go a little deeper in there. If influencers are outcomes, if prize monies are outcomes, if what's to you one of the strongest levers that we can go ahead and keep on running and pushing forward from now for the next 5 years for mainstreaming and keeping on mainstreaming
Well,
esports?
when I was with Riot, one of the things that that Niccolo, who was heading Riot, told us is we are not building a game which is going to be for 1 year. We are building a league that's going to stay for the next 50 years, and that really made me think. Today, I influenced my son to play cricket, football, whatever sport because I follow it, right? 10 years down the line, the likes of Ankit, once he has a kid, likes of you and me, we are going to pass on this love for esport to our children. And there will be a generation which will not understand the difference between cricket and esport. And that's what we should aim for. What we should do is we should do exactly what we're doing today. Don't change anything. It's a matter of time. Remember, esport is only less than technically mainstream, only 5 or 6 years old. We are talking about sports which are more than 100 years old. Imagine what esports would look like 100 years down the line. So that, for me, don't look at it as anything else. It's like any other sport. Your father will influence your son or your daughter to play the sport, exactly the same philosophy. It will run exactly like any other sport. Hopefully the federations are a lot better.
And one of the requests we'll all go ahead and do is there's some cool esports action that is happening next door. Walk there, see the action, see people jumping up, shouting. The finals of Counter Strike should be there very soon, so definitely check that out.